Hello everybody and welcome to my presentation course. Today we are going to focus on a very important section, that is dealing with the questions. You can see that in every presentation, at the end of your presentation, there is a Q&A section, and this is the part that you are going to answer the questions that the audience might raise for you. How can we deal with the questions? How can we answer the questions satisfactorily? So now we are going to move on to the contents for today. We are going to focus on just three things. We talk about the mindset and attitude. I'll talk about why we need to focus on this first. And then that's the tips for Q&A. That's the major part. We are going to learn a few structures, and you can just use some of them for your presentation. And then we just look at a few samples, 2 samples in fact. And then we just wrap up for the tips for today. Now let's get started. First, let's talk about the mindset and attitude. Why do I say this? Everything starts from the mind, from the brain here. When you have a good mindset, a positive mindset to Q&A, you love the Q&A, you will try your best to answer all of the questions, to deal with the questions. You tried your best in order to give the best answer, to have the best preparation for the Q&A. However, if you don't like the Q&A, you are scared of this section, you are scared of people may ask you questions you may not know, then you try to find ways to get away with that. Okay? So firstly, let's have a look at a few questions here. Think about these questions. Number 1, do you prefer asking questions or being asked questions? Think about this. You can think about the advantages and the disadvantages of asking questions and being asked questions. Write out a few things first. So let's talk about asking questions. What can be the benefits of asking questions? Some people may say when you ask questions, you may feel confidence because you are in the active role, you can ask whatever you want to. You may feel confident because you can just prepare the questions. You can just write down the sentences, the questions, that you can be sure that that's perfectly correct in grammar. You can have the best choice of vocabulary for your question. Right? An answer, that's a feeling of superiority. It's like in the interview. You are in the interview and you are the boss, you can just ask questions. You can just take control over things. Those are the benefits of asking questions. Now what about being asked questions? A few people, students are scared of this section. They are scared of being asked at the end of the presentation. Why is that? What can be the reasons? Why are you scared of this part? Maybe you feel scared because you may not know the answer. You don't know how to answer. The questions can be so unexpected and you are not ready for that. People may find out your weaknesses. Is it right? You get nervous very easily. I guess you can just stop thinking about, maybe the dangers, the risks, the fear of having to answer the questions. Let's start thinking about the benefits of being asked. What can be the benefits? At the end of the presentation, when people ask you questions, what does it mean? When people ask you questions, it means They ask, it means they care. They like your presentation. They are interested in your presentation. Then they ask in order to know more information. This is a good sign. It means you can interest people. Your presentation can interest people. Right? Also, think about this. No man is perfect, right? No presentation is perfect. There must be confusing parts in your presentation. And yeah, the question, this is the golden chance for you to make clear, to give, more explanations, to just clear confusion, to help people understand more about your presentation. This is the chance for you to give more examples, to repeat things, to say things again, to just give, statistics, explanations, clarification, support in order to make people, completely understand your points. Right? This is the chance for you to make your presentation perfect. Then, that's the opportunity, not the threat, not the fear. Think about this one. What about this? Has there been a time when somebody asked you a question and you didn't know the answer? I guess yes. In that case, what would you do? What did you do? Think about this. Yeah. And also, this is very important. When people ask you a question, what is the first thing you should do? What do you think? Do you just start answering the questions? Or you just smile? Think about this. Should you say thank you or something? Think about this, right? And also, many people expect the presenter to be honest, because when you are honest, the audience will lay trust on you. They will just believe in you. People do not believe in a liar, right? And that's why it comes to this situation. When you don't know the answer to a question, as a presenter, you just try to be very honest and say, wow, your question is very interesting, but I'm sorry, I don't know. Is it possible to say so? Think about this. Is it right? How would you feel when you go to a presentation and you ask the presenter a question and he says, I'm sorry, I don't know? Think about this one. Then today we are going to learn a few tips for you to overcome some difficult situations. But at the beginning, it's very important to have the positive mindset to Q&A. The Q&A is the golden opportunity for you to make things clear. It is a signal for you to know that people care for your presentation. Because in the future, when you go to, when you present maybe your scientific research at some international conferences, and of course, for the paper presentation, we have 30 minutes, but in fact, the real presentation is just 15 minutes. We have around 10 minutes for the Q&A. Then make sure you keep to the timing and you spare 10 minutes for the Q&A. Don't try to play tricks on this. What do we say by playing tricks? It means, we just try to make the presentation very long and we just, extend our talking time. We present for about 20 minutes, maybe 27 minutes. And then you just look at your watch and you say, wow, my presentation is so interesting that I cannot stop. I'm so sorry that we have just 3 minutes left. I guess we don't have time for the Q&A. So I'm going to write my contact number and email on board. If you have any questions, just send questions to my email. I'm going to reply to you later. and you think that you are very smart in doing so. No, you are not smart. Everybody knows that you are playing tricks, right? And it's very important to deal with that, to be very clear, to get strictly to the timeline. 15 minutes for the presentation, 10 minutes for the Q&A. If you have your thesis defense in the future, think about this. We are also very strict on the timing. And again, a positive mindset to Q&A. That's the golden opportunity, not the fear, right? Now let's talk about, the steps. How many steps do you think we have to handle the questions? How many? Some people say just one. How many steps? I don't care. There's just one step. Just answer the questions. Some people say two. What are the two? You think and you answer. Sounds better. Some people say three. Why three? You have to be polite. You say thank you. And you think. And you answer. Anybody says four? Yes, some people say four. What are the four? You say thank you. You spend some time thinking. You answer the question. And number four, what is it? Thank you again for asking me the question. Then, I don't know what number you come up with. In fact, how many steps? According to experts, we have 7 steps. Let's see what the 7 steps are. We learn the 7 steps. It doesn't mean that we have to use all of the 7 steps in our Q&A. We have to be very flexible. We are not robots. Is it right? Number 1, welcome the question. I'm going to give you some structures later. It means when you receive the question, try to make people feel that you do appreciate the people asking the questions. You really appreciate, you really love the questions, and you are very happy to receive the questions. When you are happy with that, the questioner is happy with you, right? Welcome the question. Step number 2, listen carefully to the question, don't interrupt. This is important. Remember, some questions can be very easy, very simple. And when the questioner is just halfway, you say, okay, I know what you mean. What do you mean by saying so? It means, wow, the question is so easy, and how can a person like you ask such an easy question? The questioner is so simple-minded to ask a simple question. Receive the question another way. When you receive a very easy question, it means that's the opportunity for you to give a better answer. You have more time to think, to just, arrange the ideas, put the things into a very logical order, and give a very persuasive, very clear answer. Think about that this way. Is it right? This is the golden opportunity. Why do you need to just challenge yourself? And when you receive difficult questions, you feel angry. When you receive very simple, very easy questions, you don't feel happy. So what makes you feel happy? Okay, then again, listen to the whole question. Answer the way for you to be polite, right? Step number 3, take time to think before you answer. Think about this. When you have time, your answer is always better. Is it right? Compared to you have to answer something like with no preparation time. But the thing is, how much time is enough for you to think? According to you, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes? And then when you start to answer, everybody has gone, has left. I'm joking. Yeah, so some time to think. But the thing is, how can you get yourself some time to think? When you say, thank you very much for the question is very interesting, but can you give me 30 seconds to think? I guess that's not very nice to say so. Is it right? There must be some way for us to do in order to get us some time. Yeah, we cannot be so direct. Could you please kindly enough to give me 30 seconds to think? They will say no. I don't have time. Now let's go to step number 4. In fact, because we just combine number 4 and number 3 together, you just check to see whether you have understood the question and you rephrase, you paraphrase. I will tell you 2 techniques. And for sure, step number 4, when you just, sometimes you understand the question already, but you try to pretend that you do not understand completely, and you want to take the opportunity, the time for you to think for the answer. Then make sure, it is something like the ability you can do it very easily. It is not that you have to spend time thinking how to paraphrase, how to rephrase. Then how can you have time to think about the answer, right? Now step number 5, reply positively. Try to be brief and clear. This is the Q&A. This is not an essay. Then just do not go around, and then you just lose concentration. You just go away. Then you just forget giving the answer. And people are just waiting for the answer, and it never comes. Be brief. Save time for other questions. Right? And very important, accept criticism positively. Don't lose your temper. Don't get angry. When you go to work in the future, sometimes, some people can ask some, annoying questions. For example, you and other people, there are different projects you want to show your boss. And the boss is going to choose one of the projects, right? You want to be successful, you try your best. But people can just, pick out your mistakes, your weaknesses. Is it right? Think about something like that. You have just finished your presentation, and then one person just raises the hand. Can I just ask a question? Sure, go ahead. I'm very happy that today you give such an interesting presentation. I love the information. But it's hard to say. I've got to say this. Last night I watched YouTube, and it was the latest video on YouTube about the topic you talk about today. The thing is, what I heard, what I saw on YouTube last night was not the same with what you presented. Very sweet, very polite, very gentle, but it hurts. What does it mean? It means what you are presenting today is not correct. It's not true to what I saw on TV last night. In that case, it can be very easy for you to get angry, and you try to protect yourself, right? You use all of the skills, reasons, your facial expressions as well, in order to just, prove that you are right. Is it a good idea to say so? When you win in the competition, you are right, and you can prove that that person is wrong. at the same time you send a signal to everybody, every audience. If you don't want to be the next victim, don't ask, don't give the comment like that. You can see when you are strict to one person, it means you are strict to everybody, and it is unfair, is it right? Everybody could feel scared, or they can get together to attack you. That is a good idea for you, to just find some way out. It should be the win-win situation, right? And finally, when you have answered the question already, check whether the questioner is happy or not, is happy with your answer or not. And you just slowly show your facial expression, be very happy. Are you happy with my answer? And wait for the person to respond, right? Don't just turn to the person, answer the question, and then you look the other way. It's like, I don't want to talk to you anymore because you just asked me the question. Be gentle, be polite. You spend time answering the question, make it worth. Think about effectiveness, right? Who knows, the person can ask you a follow-up question. Remember in the exam, the teacher asks you a question. I say at least one question. There can be one follow-up question. There can be another, maybe there can be two follow-up questions when the teacher is very interested. Okay, so you can see, in reality, it doesn't mean that we are going to follow the 7 steps here one by one, but in fact, we are going to, be flexible. Number 1, it's a must to show polite. Number 2, you can do that at the same time. Number 3 and number 4, just put them together if you want to, right? Of course, number 5, number 6, I guess we don't have this in the final exam. Number 5, you can do it, and number 7, for sure. Okay, now so let's go to some of the structures, some tips. Firstly, let's go to inviting questions. This is, the last part of the body in your presentation. When you have finished all of the points, you can say, so that's the end of my presentation. If you have any comments or questions, I could be very happy to answer. I'm very happy to hear them now. Or if you have any questions, I'd be pleased to answer them. I'll do my best to answer them. Or you can say something like, I'm very glad to answer your questions. Any questions you may have. Or a very simple, easy, popular way is, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. I could be very happy to answer all of them now. Remember, if you have any questions, plural form, and questions, so answer all of them, right? Very simple, but remember, the last structure is quite popular. Now, welcoming the question, when you hear the question, say something like, thank you very much for your question, long to be polite. And say a little bit comment, thank you, your question is really interesting. Don't say, thanks. So to say, thank you very much for your question. Be polite, right? If the person asks you a follow-up question, another question, don't say, wow, this question is also really interesting. Be flexible. It's a nice question, I'm sure. I thank you very much. I love this question very much. Thank you for asking me this question. This is a great question. I'm about to tell you about this. Okay? So the first two, thank you very much for your question. Your question is very interesting. Say something like that. Now clarifying. Now this is the way, this is the case that you just want to repeat the question by yourself. Okay? So you can say something like, if I have understood you correctly, your point is that, and then you paraphrase, you blah blah blah, and then, is that right? Or you can say, let me just make sure your point is that, and then blah blah blah, is that right? Yeah. So a few more structures for you to think about. Yeah. Very often, let me just make sure your point is that. And you rephrase, and is that correct? Is that right? Always confirm with, is that right? Because sometimes you rephrase, but it's not the original meaning. Is it right? You have to confirm. Now this is the case that you want the questioner to repeat the question for you. Then you have more time to think. Yeah. And you say things like, I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch what you said about. Could you go over that again? Yeah, try to say, I didn't quite catch what you said about. Then you can see it means I understand you, but not completely. But don't say, I'm sorry, I don't understand your question. Can you repeat that? Don't be so straight. Don't be so direct like that. Is it right? Yeah. I'm not sure what you're getting at. Could you repeat what you said about? Remember, repeat, it means say again. Don't say repeat again. A few more structures for you. I'm sorry, I'm not quite clear on your question. Can you just repeat that? I'm not quite clear on your question. Now, so dealing with difficult questions, in case you cannot answer the questions, because you don't have enough evidence, especially when you go to maybe a conference or something, you need, statistics, but you don't have the statistics with you. I'm afraid I don't have the answer to that right now, but I will check and come back to you. Is that all right with you? I'll tell you at break time. I'll tell you at the end of the presentation. Yeah. As a presenter, sometimes you can say, I'm afraid I don't have the answer to that right now. Why don't you just give me your contact information? I'll just check out your question and contact you later. Is that fine? Sure. The audience would be happy to have the contact of the relationship with the presenter. You are the VIP now. Now sometimes the question is so complicated, and you expect that it will take you lots of time to answer the question, and it is not suitable to answer here. It takes time of everybody else. You can say, well, your question is very interesting, but I guess it's too complex for us to talk about here. Then can I just give you the answer later at break time? I'll see you at break time, okay? Wonderful. Yeah. Now answer with difficult questions. There are a few more ways to say like this. When you see you don't have lots of time, I'm sorry, but I have to come to that later, perhaps during break time, because we are running out of time. Now this is important when you go to work in the future, or you work in some organization. There are different departments. You are in human resource, another person in marketing, another person in finance, something like that. And the question is not in your area. You want to just direct the question to another person. Example, you go with your boss to a company to present some of the projects. and then the customer asks a question. You know the answer, but you are not in a position to answer, because if you just answer the question, you are going to override power, and when you come back to the company, you are going to be in trouble with your boss. You can say, I'm afraid I'm not in a position to answer your question, but I'm sure my boss, Mr. Chen from sales, could help. Yeah. Remember, this is for your work in the future, but again, be flexible. Don't use this for the final exam. In the final exam, when a teacher asks you a question, don't say, yeah, your question is very interesting, thank you, but I'm afraid I'm not in a position to answer your question, but I'm sure Mr. Thin could help. No, that's not appropriate. I cannot help you in the final exam. Don't give the question to me. Okay? Yeah. Now let's go to checking. This is very simple and easy, but I just want to make sure you have the correct structure. Yeah, because sometimes, some students are very smart. They have many ways to check. And the thing is, they just mix all the ways together. And then what they say is not standard. Now, if I look at a few very simple ways, are you happy with my answer? Are you happy with the answer? Very simple, is it right? But they just say, are you happy with my answer? Are you happy with my answer? Or, does my answer make you happy? But you often say, does my answer make you happy? Do my answer, does my answer make you happy? Or, does that answer your question? Very simple, is it right? Don't say, is that, does that answer your question? Then you can see, don't try to mix up the three structures into a special structure for you, right? Very simple, just learn the structure you like, the one of your tests, and then just do it 100 times, 1,000 times. You cannot be wrong. You cannot make mistakes. Now we may have, two more, like, is that clear for you? May we go on? We just have the word may we go on in case, in the presentation, you say something like, and during my presentation, when you have any questions, don't just hesitate to, interrupt me and ask me questions. Yeah. You can see it means when people interrupt you during the presentation and you answer, you say, may we go on? It means, can we just move on to the next part? But in some presentations, especially in the final exams at international university, you need to ask the audience to just save the questions until the end of your presentation. If you have any questions, I could be very happy if you could leave them to the end of my presentation. At that time, I will answer all of the questions you may have. Yeah, because we do the timing, and the timing doesn't include the Q&A. We just want to make sure you can finish your whole presentation in the time allowed, 6 to 8 minutes. Then in IU, we don't have the structure may we go on. We just say, does my answer make you happy? Or, are you happy with my answer? Right? Okay, then you can see. Now let's go to a few samples. We are going to watch, I said 2 samples. One is the case the presenter answers the question. And the second case, the presenter avoids answering the question. Now let's focus on the first part. This is Kiều Anh, a student. And this is the case that she avoids giving the answer. Okay, so she talks about a species of animal that is endangered. Okay, so now let's watch and see how she uses the skills, the techniques in avoiding answering the questions.
And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. And now, I'm very happy to answer if you have any question.
Thank you, Ms. Giwan, for your interesting information. I would like to have one question for you. You say that it's difficult for this animal to survive in captivity because eating habit is limited. What do you mean by saying that?
Thank you very much for your interesting question, but I'm afraid it's quite complex to deal with here. To answer this question, we need more discussion on the source of food, eating habit, living condition, and weather condition. Then, can I talk about these issues after this presentation?
Yes, that's okay. Okay, how do you feel about her answer? Yeah, she uses the techniques as well. Remember to say thank you, right? That's the most important thing you have to do. Now let's go to the second sample. Here, in the second sample, she gives the answer. And also see how she uses the techniques. Are you ready? Let's go.
It's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any question, I'm very happy to answer now.
Thank you, Ms. Giwan. Thank you very much for your interesting information. I would like to have one question for you. You say that it's difficult for this animal to survive in captivity, and the main reason is because eating habit is limited. What do you mean by saying that?
Thank you very much for your nice question. If I understand you clearly, you mean that you want to know more about the eating habit in captivity, right?
Yes, that's right.
As I've said that their main source of food is ants and termites. But it's difficult for people to provide a sufficient amount of food. An adult consumes up to 17 million insects per year. So people usually replace ants and termites by bees, worms, and other insects. But former sand penguin reject the strange food, and it's easy for them to become sick when they eat strange food. And the most important reason is that they have a very strange eating habit. They have to dig their pile earth and find ants and termites themselves. So it's very hard to provide this condition in captivity, and that's why the eating habit is limited. Are you happy with my answer?
Yes, of course. It's interesting. Thank you. Okay, that you can see, yeah, she uses, the strategies, the techniques we have learned in answering the questions. Be simple like that, and you can gain high score. Remember, for the Q&A, we pay attention to two things. Number one, we see whether you can use the techniques, and number two, we see whether your answer is to the point or not. Sometimes the techniques are wonderful, yeah, but the answer is, yeah, to something else, not to my question. Think about that. Okay? Be simple. Then it is very important that you have to expect a few questions that the audience might have for your presentation. Okay, now let's recap what we have learned today. For dealing with questions, it's very important to have a positive mindset. Remember? Your mind controls your behavior, your language, what you say, how you say, what you do. When you have a positive mindset, you have the best strategies to deal with that, to deal with the Q&A section. Remember to show appreciation, say thank you to the questioner. Your question is very interesting. Use techniques to give you some time to answer the question. And answer when you have finished. Check for satisfaction. Right? See whether people are happy with your answer or not. And always remember to keep calm and to be polite. Don't lose your temper. Don't get angry with the people. You are there to persuade people, to give the people the information. You are not there to confront the people. Right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I guess it's time. We are going to stop here. Remember to, do some practice and practice. And practice makes perfect. Okay? Thank you very much. And goodbye, everybody.